John B. Watson by Brooklyn DeCann. John B. Watson was born January 9th, 1878, and grew up in South Carolina. He entered Furman University at the age of 16. After graduating 5 years later with a master's degree, he began to study sociology at the University of Chicago, earning his PhD in psychology in 1903. Here's a picture of John B. Watson. John B. Watson was a psychologist who became famous during the 20th century. He made many discoveries while at Johns Hopkins University. Watson was different from most psychologists and believed that the objective analysis of the mind was impossible. He liked to focus on behavior directly and bring that under control. Watson wanted to make a huge shift in psychology as a whole. He wanted to change it from studying the mind to studying behavior. His approach of observing and understanding behavior became to be called behaviorism. John B. Watson became known as the father of behaviorism. Many objectives of behaviorism is the study by behaviorists was learned behavior and its interaction with inborn qualities of organisms. Here's a picture of him performing one of his experiments. Behaviorism helped define psychology as a strong scientific discipline through its many methods and experiments. Also used behavior therapy. Behaviorism led to research on the environment's influences on human behavior. John Watson also had a controversial experiment. He used his understanding of behaviors to make a young child fear a white rat. The young boy later died, and many blamed this experiment for giving him neurological impairments. To further explain this experiment, Watson handed little Albert the white rat, and little Albert enjoyed playing with it. Then Watson made a loud noise by striking a hammer against a metal bar hanging behind little Albert's head. Each time little Albert touched the rat, little Albert was frightened by the sound, demonstrating a reflexive fear of sudden loud noises, and began to cry. Watson repeatedly paired the loud sound with the white rat, making him afraid of the white rat. Here is an image of him performing this experiment on the child. Watson remained at Johns Hopkins University till 1920. He had an affair with Ryer, divorced his first wife, and was then asked by the university to resign his position. Watson later married Ryer, and the two remained together until her death in 1935. Here is a picture of Ryer. One psychologist that Watson disagreed with on views of behavior was Sigmund Freud. In contrast with Freud, who considered the reasons for behavior to be hidden in the unconscious, Watson championed the idea that all behavior can be studied as a simple stimulus-response reaction without regard for internal processes. Here's an image of Freud. Watson's first major work, Behavior: An Introduction to Comparative Psychology, was published in 1914. In it, he argued forcefully for the use of animal subjects in psychological study, and described instinct as a series of reflexive activated by hereditary. Watson states that this volume of behavior has been written to be serviceable in classroom work in psychology and biology. Watson first discusses what he considered the unsatisfactory nature of present psychology premises the nature of behaviorist theory. Issues explored in behaviorist studies, such as sense, perception, instincts, habits, learning, processes, and conditioning, are explored. The definite statement of Watson's position appears in another major work, Psychology from the Standpoint of a Behaviorist, in which he sought to extend the principles and methods of comparative psychology to the study of human beings, staunchly advocated the use of conditioning in research. This book explains psychology in the context of behaviorism and reports upon those things that any properly trained individual can observe. Behavior psychology has been called psychology, muscle twitch psychology, and biology, but it helps to rid us of the constraints of present-day conventional psychology and teaches us to face the human being more directly. What name it is given is not a matter of much consensus. Watson's ideas were influenced by Ivan Pavoli's work. According to Watson's, human behavior, just like animal behavior, is primarily the result of conditioned responses, whereas Pavoli's work with dogs involved the conditioning of reflexes. Watson believed that the simple principles could be extended to the conditioning of human emotions. Here is an image of Ivan Pavoli's. John B. Watson and B.F. Skinner had similar beliefs. They both were strong behaviorists. They focused exclusively on studying behavior rather than cognition. Here is an image of Skinner. John B. Watson claimed he could take any child and train him to become any type of specialist. He believed that with the proper techniques, we could train any child into anything he wanted them to be. He had strong beliefs on this. Here is a famous quote from Watson about his views. Give me a dozen healthy infants, well formed, in my own specific world to bring them up in, and I'll grant to take any at random and change him to become any type of specialist I might select. Doctor, lawyer, merchant, thief, and yes, even beggarman and thief, regardless of his talents, perchance, tendencies, abilities, vocations, and race of his ancestors. I am going beyond my facts, and I admit to it, but so have the advocates of the country, and they have been doing it for many of thousands of years. This goes back to his idea that he could train anyone to become anything he wanted them to be. Watson set the stage for behaviorism. While behaviorism began to lose its hold after 1950, many concepts and principles are still widely used today. Conditioning and behavior modifications are still widely used in therapy and behavioral training to help clients change problematic behaviors and develop new skills. During the later part of his life, Watson's already poor relationships with his child grew progressively worse. He spent his last years living a reclusive life on a farm in Connecticut. Shortly before his death, on September 25th, 1958, he buried many of his unpublished personal papers and letters. Here's an image of him with his family. Here are some sources I used.